Hi, this is Brenda and Elaine.
Welcome to our After the Show episode, where we go deeper into what we learned from our conversations with guests. She was so fun to talk to, first of all, but I love her story of being active throughout life, and it's inspiring to me. I remember when I was a mother with young children, I could not find a way to add regular exercise into my life. And maybe I didn't try hard because that's not something that I enjoy, even though I I know that I need it, but I'm just so impressed that she knew how important it was, and she found a way to do it.
Yeah, because I'm not even sure she enjoyed it when they were little, but she was like committed to her waistline, among other things. But that's what kept her healthy. I mean, you remember when my kids were little, I gained like 20, 30 pounds because I I had 2 kids and I was at capacity. You and her had 3 kids and she had a full-time job. I don't know.
Part of it could be that having 3 kids and a set of twins, so, 3 of them under 4, I was exercising whether I was doing it on purpose or not, so
Carrying them babies around.
the fact that she was so intentional really struck me.
Yeah, and yeah, she was purposeful. I thought because she was like, "Oh, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do that." And I was like, "Oh, I need to up my game." She's 85 years old. She walks 10,000 steps a day and does aerobics 4 times a week. I mean, if I hit 10,000 steps a day, I think I'm doing good. So, and she's doing aerobics.
For her, and I think this would be true for me, that having community and doing that exercise really makes you want to do it more. She said she had classes with the same women for like 20 or 30 years, and they just had fun being together. So it was workout, it was exercise, but it was also social engagement. And I can see how that would make it much more fun.
More fun and also accountability because, I walk every Saturday morning with Elizabeth. And there's some Saturdays where it's cold or it might be drizzling. And if it were just me saying, "Oh, I'm going to go for a walk," I'd be like, "No, I'll stay in bed." Because I know that Elizabeth is expecting me. I definitely go out there more days than I would if I were on my own.
Mm,
Helpful.
that's true. And I think she also had seasons where, it was less time spent exercising and then more
Right.
over life, when she had little kids, she did make sure that she did it, but it probably wasn't as much as she did when she was alone or, she was taking care of her husband when he was sick. And I know that she didn't have the opportunity to work out as much then, but it's like just the whole arc of life and making sure that whether it's, constant or not, that it's always something on your mind and that you're working towards.
Right. And I was particularly impressed that during COVID, which had to be a really hard time, while she was caring for her husband with dementia, she still said, "You know what? I'm going to get out and take a walk by myself every day." So when we talk about prioritizing yourself, that's a time where you could just, woe is me. And when I have an hour free, let me go watch some TV. Even then, she was like, "I'm going to get outside and take a walk."
And I think that activity was good for her physical well-being, but also good for her mental well-being, just to have some time alone, to be able to just be with your own thoughts and focus on yourself.
Well, that's another thing that I took from this episode because we chose to speak to Mrs. Roux because she's so physically active at her age. But it was interesting to hear how she also was purposeful in being mentally active. "Oh, I'm in a book club. You
Do
know,
those crossword puzzles and
right,
yeah.
right. I wonder if you feel this. She's 85, which I think if mom had lived, would she be 85 this year, right?
Mhm.
And so,
Close to.
yeah, so she reminds me of mom because when mom and dad moved to Front Royal, mom went for a walk every day with those 2 friends. Every morning she
Mhm.
went for that walk, remember? And so, uh, I mean, even though they don't look alike or sound alike, there was things when we were talking to her that just made me
Brought
think
that
of
to
and
mind.
appreciate mom. Yeah.
Yeah. So you're already on your walking regimen with somebody, and I've done that a couple times, but I don't have a consistent one right now. So that's something I'm going to work toward. Something else, though, that Mrs. Roux said that sort of made me a little bit jealous, but I see the benefit of it is having your whole family right in the same town.
Mhm.
There's gotta be some security, first of all, even though she lives alone, but she feels like she can go for a walk because you always know there's somebody who you can reach out to who can help you if you need anything.
Nearby, she can
You're
walk to her
right.
son's house.
Yeah, but just having family around, and we have a very close family, just not geographically close. So I would love to have that, with I have 3 children, grandchildren, and I love being able to travel to see them, and I love that they're doing what they want to in life. And I wouldn't change this, but it would be ideal.
That's how
That's
it
something.
used to be, and that's like, I think when we were raising our children, that's why it was a bit more challenging because neither of us lived close to family, to immediate family, like mom and dad or anything like that. And that was the same for our parents, right? Because we moved around a lot growing up. And I think that makes parenting hard.
A lot of people are recognizing that, and so, again, everything moves in cycles. I think we're moving back to that because,
Yeah.
first of all, it's hard and very expensive these days to raise children, and people are appreciating more having.
Extended family.
I think we're coming back to that. And something else that I thought of when listening to her talk was, and we've talked about this with other guests, is living in an environment that's healthy. She has walking trails close to her house. They have benches where she can sit down. They keep them clean. The community keeps them shoveled off in the winter so that she can still walk. So it's not just what you do for yourself, but where you live, the community you live in, the
Right.
priorities of everyone there that makes those things possible.
And that she has a safe neighborhood that she can go for walks in. Some people don't have that freedom either. So that's the thing in the US. It feels like this isn't right, but sometimes it feels like health is a privilege, right? Because we talk about access to healthcare, but also access to healthy food and access to the ability to get exercise and fresh air and sunshine. And those are things we need our politicians to support change, to make policies that you don't have to be wealthy to
Right.
be
To
healthy.
prioritize that for everybody. And that's what we're missing a lot of in this country.
Got to fight for it.
Just being involved in the political process at all times. There's
Mm.
no time we should be letting up on any of that.
And politicians pay attention. They pay attention to who they hear from. So,
Yeah, I just finished Ilhan Omar's memoir. She had quite a story being a refugee from Somalia to rising to be a congresswoman. And so she's just very adamant about advocating for everybody to have access to things, to have a good life, and to be healthy. And also, something that she said in that book that stuck with me was we all have to realize that this political process, the process of making these changes, is a long process. We can't
mm,
expect it to be quick and easy, and we have to realize that even these little incremental things we're doing, or just, using your platform to inform people and advocate, is good, and it steps towards the right thing, but it's not going to change overnight, but we have to just keep working towards that.
yeah, don't get tired, don't give up. That's good
And
advice.
don't get frustrated with other people as easily who don't see what you see. And I know this was the real
Oh, that you're
you
talking to
know?
me.
I tend to just like, "Oh, you don't agree with me? Okay, fine," and
Loser.
keep moving. But, you gotta keep engaging and keep talking, and you may not agree, and it's not always comfortable, but there's no other way. We have to both try to understand each other. If we keep talking, we might get there, but if we don't talk, that's never gonna happen.
All of that from a conversation with lovely Mrs. Roux. Oh, one more thing that made me chuckle was the fact that we are unable to call her by her first name.
It was instilled in us. You respect your elders, and we never would consider that.
Well, I also just Joy Ann Reid's book,
Mhm.
Medgar
Oh,
and
I read that
Murray.
one too.
Yeah, right.
Yes,
But do you
yes.
remember when she was saying in the South in the 50s and before that The white shopkeepers would never call a black person Mrs. or Mister, right? You were either your first name or auntie or boy or something worse.
Mm,
And
right.
so I do feel like, especially when we're talking to older people who lived through the civil rights movement, who were around, before then, that showing them that respect, calling them Mrs. Roux, for example.
Yes, the honor that they deserve because it was taken from them.
Let us know what you learned from this guest.
If you want to support Body Wealth, please subscribe on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or YouTube. We'd also love it if you give us a 5-star rating and write a review letting us know what you love about the show.
The Body Wealth podcast shares personal stories to inspire you. It does not constitute medical advice. For that, we encourage you to work with a trusted healthcare provider.